Hello, welcome to the second part. My last video just cut off suddenly, but let's continue. So as I was saying, they can randomly mix them up or shuffle them up, and then as they pick, they can say which commandment it is. Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it the fifth? So that will help them in understanding and memorizing the 10 commandments. So moving on swiftly, we can have the memory verses. Yes, you can write them out on a manila paper. You can write them out on a flip chart. You can write them on the whiteboard. You can have it in small strips of paper. Another idea is if you have this, you can print it out. If you have a colored printer, if you have the resources to do that, then you just cut out. This is also printed out, and then you stick on what I have here is embossed paper or card paper. If you don't have it, it's not a must. So as I say, these are two, it's just the same thing but on two different ones, whereby you can hang it and you can frame it. You can make it more durable by laminating, and you have a memory verse or even a wallpaper in the end. If you have a place within the house or even within the Sunday school premises where you can hang, and you can have them during the year or during the week, as they come in, they remember what the previous memory verse was, and then it moves on. So it's nice and colorful. For this, it's mainly, I looked at it and I loved it, and I know this will stay home with me. But I can also share it with my loved ones. So this is for memory verses, something outstanding. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And then you have it from Joshua chapter 24 verse 15. So it's a nice way to have your memory verses, and it's quite distinct and therefore sticks. That's why it's called a memory verse. Then when it comes to the children of different ages, still these are internet resources that I'm grateful for, and I pay due diligence. I know I'll keep repeating this because it's not my work. It should not be said that I am the one who came up with this, because one thing, I recognize that I do not have all the resources within me. So I look out and I embrace what others have shared with the world. So this is about I believe it's about Moses getting angry, his anger, and how it cost him his entry into Canaan. But as you go through, even this many suits, you look through and you find out which is the best way. So this is showing Miriam and Aaron. Those are the brother and sister to Moses. And then you have the pictures about Pharaoh. So you can still have your story in picture form. So basically you have that should be the mother placing the basket. I drew him out, that's Pharaoh's daughter. So you can have this. It would be best if it's laminated so that they are durable and you can use them over and over again. Still, this applies within the Sunday school setup or within the family setup for family studies. So Moses marries Zipporah. Then there's the story of the burning bush. I am who I am, that's what the Lord said to Moses. And then now Aaron becomes Moses' helper, especially when he's trying to give the excuses of him being a stammerer and all that. And that. So I'm paying due diligence, and as I can see, with that I printed just for my class, because this is what I'm going to use in my class in the coming days. So these are pictures. As you can see, you have that, and you have your story, and this I believe with the pictures they themselves, by the way, especially if it's a story that has been told over and over again, or the children know the story, they can hold up the pictures and then they give the story. So it's not you as a teacher or as a parent or as a guardian talking all through. They themselves can look at the picture and then they give out their story. So this is where the power of imagination is really enhanced. So still, last Sunday's lesson was about the parable of the talents. So I mainly teach class 6. So there are different times when you want that competitive spirit, and to avoid talking too much, I get different activities. So in this case, there was a parable of the talents. I didn't use this. I used a different activity which still worked out. But you can have the crosswords still. Internet resources, so you can have a timer. You can tell them whoever gets the first 5 words, the first 10 words, whichever, you just find a way to make it fun. and you have this, so they can go, they find the word and then they tick, and then you find out who did best. It can be the girls, it can be the boys, or whichever the case. So still, it's a parable of the talents, and then you have the crossword. So this was a puzzle, this is a crossword, I believe, or word puzzle. It usually has different names, still with the same topic, the parable of the talents. Still, you have this. But another thing that I always say is ensure you go through, because as you can see, Torah teacher Yeshua, this is mainly on the Jewish language, but you can still, it still means, when it comes to Yeshua, it still means Christ, still means Jesus. But always ensure you go through any content, whether it's a video, whether it's any material. You don't just print it out and then give it to your children. You always have to do it prior. That's where the preparation and the planning comes into place. Then you have the parable of the talents. Still, that was the lesson. So if it can be for the little children who may need coloring, so you have this, Matthew 25 verse 14 to 30, and then you have what? Yes, they can color, and as you can see, this I believe was you can explain why the facial expression, but I believe it's the master looking at what he gets back from what you have done. So basically, it's a good, I liked that. So still, as a way of recognizing or motivating your children to carry their Bibles, or if they do a puzzle quite fast, they are the competitor, they are the first in a certain task, they volunteer to say the prayers and all that. So these are just still printouts, and we have 5 steps in knowing God's word. You have your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path, and then we have the Old and the New Testament. So this you can add a ribbon, or you can just have it punched. You can get a hole punch, or you can just get your usual paper punch and then just have that. They can put a ribbon, they can put whatever it is, whether it's beads. The creative aspect is left with them. So this is also all about prior planning. You can leave it as it is, but I like the fact that it's firm, and the children can have it as their bookmarks. So another thing that I have remembered before I say goodbye to you is that using the flip chart. So as I said, with the memory verse, you can write it out. So this was last week's lesson. It's just something that worked for me, because sometimes I can talk too much. Not too much. I am quite wordy with what I have, and therefore my time, I can take up quite some time. So one thing that helped me last Sunday when I was taking the class through is that's my calendar, is the fact that I wrote the lessons down. The other 2 flip charts that right here on the table, but I'll not be showing you that for today. So we have the lesson. Prior to that, I'd given them fun facts about Matthew, him being a tax collector and all that. So the Bible drill is another activity I can show you in another video, but it kept the lesson interesting and they loved it. Brought out the competitive spirit, and so positive. So it wasn't me talking the entire time. There was a point where they were engaging and they were doing that. So I wrote down the BD. The BD at the back, at the end, is Bible drill, which will now help me know that at this point they're supposed to do the Bible drill, and then from there we move on. So the Bible drill is a verse. Let me just state it here. Is by the time you get to the Bible drill, you have a verse. So you tell them to lift their Bibles to on top of their heads. It should be closed. There should be no bookmark. They should not be putting their fingers into just to mark anything. And then you say the Bible verse that they're looking for, that you need them to say. So you tell them if it's in this case, but this was not what we used, Revelation 22 verse 12. So whoever says it first, and whose hand you see up first, which they can get quite competitive, especially the boys. So they say it, and then now you emphasize the lesson that being a Christian demands the kind of service that produces results. Then when you have that, the memory verse is right there, and you can have the lessons learned. It's up to you to write as you wish. So this helped me stick to my timeline, and I loved the using it, and I think I might use it later in the coming days. At least it keeps me grounded, it keeps me focused, and I am saving on time and not keeping the children too occupied with just listening to me without anything to read or write. So that's for today. Thank you so much, and yeah, let's use our talents well in whichever area, whether it's in ministry or wherever it is in the marketplace. So thank you and all the best. Bye bye. Thank you.